There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Share time screen is fine. Um, oh, yep, it's Zoom, so I haven't given it access yet. There we go. Okay, I'll just rejoin so that it actually has the access for screen sharing. I'll be right back.
Mhm. So, Sunil sir, will you be joining us for this Sunday? We have been missing you.
Yeah, last Sunday I was busy in home a function, so
Mhm.
yeah, this week I'll be definitely coming.
Okay. Can you check now?
Yes, you should be able to see it now.
Yes, we can see it.
All
Yeah,
right,
I can see the screen.
excellent. Zoom need this as well. Well, should be fine. All right. Um, so, do we wait a moment for people, or do you want to get off to start? I don't know. I haven't been to one of these on Friday, so I don't know what your
Uh,
usual way of doing it is.
so yeah, like we can start. Like usually it's 8 to 10 folks, and like I
Okay,
think since this was a last moment or last minute, not many are able to make it, but they will be able to see the recording.
perfect.
And Paul Renz usually convert this into a blog. He has some tool, internal tool, which is
Okay, great.
public yet. So we'll also have a blog post.
Okay, that's brilliant. That's great. Okay, well, maybe I'll just because I don't think everyone was in the meeting on Wednesday, so I'll just quickly introduce myself and what we're going to talk about. I'm going to start off by saying you'll notice that I can get quite excited about this, so I may go too quickly sometimes, or I may go off in a tangent. Don't hesitate to interrupt me to ask any questions. If there's something that you want to see a little bit more of, let me know. If you want to focus on something else, there's absolutely no problem. Um, Interrupt me because once I get in the flow, I might just keep going, and so don't hesitate. So that's first bit. Then, yeah. So just a quick introduction. So I'm Breyten. I've been working in well in AI sector for quite a few years now, but mainly as a project and product manager. I was a member of the Solve It course because I very much I have been following a lot of the work that Jeremy has been doing for a while, and I just always found that a lot of things that he was coming up with was very aligned with the way that I was trying to conceptualize about similar things. So that's why I thought it was very interesting to follow that course. And it has given me the opportunity to also then start working on some projects of my own, for which I finally had a little bit more time recently. And that's the one that I demoed on Wednesday. And then I think there was some interest in it. So that's why we're doing a little bit more of a deep dive in here. Um, I won't do too much of a prelude. We'll jump right in. I just wanted to say where I in the invitation you saw that it's tldraw. I don't know if everyone knows tldraw. tldraw is a canvas whiteboarding tool. I'll show you very short, quickly what that is. I have always found that in the way that I conceptualize about topics when I do research or even when I do some types of development, I like to visualize my concept, my way of thinking. And that's something that I felt was a bit missing with the traditional chat interfaces and tools. And I was wondering, oh, how would it be to be able to work in a proper way with a context system within the canvas? And that's what. So you should be. I'll be seeing my screen. I'll just quickly show you. So tldraw, just for those who don't know it, it should be, well, a specific version of it. It's whiteboarding tool, but well, it's a very good whiteboarding tool. Let me put it that way. So I use either tldraw or excalidraw in my day work. The advantage of is that they have. Oh, if I can move to chats. Where is this? Sorry, I'm not. It's been a while since I've been in a Zoom meeting. There we go. So tldraw.dev, there you can find all the SDK documents. So it's very easy to start developing with this. They also do, and this is another site, tldraw.computer. You might have seen some of these things pass by in the past. They work a lot on making interactive designs and integrating LLMs within their workflow as well. And I find that they're quite they used to be very much at the frontier of it. So it's always very interesting experience that they do with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just saw that tldraw. I thought you were sharing something.
Yeah, I just put the tldraw.dev and tldraw.computer in the chat board, and I'll go back to the sharing. So I'll just go back here. So you can normally you should see the screen with the yellow background now.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is basically my implementation of a tldraw canvas. The first thing that I wanted to do when I was starting to work with this, I want to see how quickly I could create new components in it in order to do some research. So what I did was I created a quick Wikipedia component. So we can take an article. Let's go for something random. It will go and fetch it from Wikipedia, and it will just start displaying it within your canvas. Why did I use Wikipedia? Just because they have good API, and I like the idea of when I do my research that I can really go through an entire cycle and go off on tangents, because you know how you always talk about having the rabbit hole of Wikipedia. You start reading one article, suddenly you're 20 articles further and you're talking about something completely different and you don't know what you've been doing. So the first thing that I did, I was just figured it'd be interesting to see visually the graph of my own exploration. So I just put in this Wikipedia element within tldraw, and that this way now whenever you click on a Wikipedia link within it, it will automatically go and get that next article. And if by doing this, you can start building up interesting graphs, whenever you get interested in something completely different, you can see that you go off on tangents, and you can see that when we create this, basically automatically a sort of graph is being created, and it's a graph of your exploration of that moment. So that's that was a bit my proof of concept. I want to see how easy is it to work with things like tldraw. How easy is it to bring in new components in this, and how would this be able to help me for doing some sort of research on that? Now, it turned out that was quite easy. So I figured, well, what other elements are interesting to work with? So imagine that you have created a graph or a research trajectory, such as this, and you do want to interact with an LLM on this. What I did was I've created a prompt shape. So I'm just inserting a prompt after. And let me just make this a little bit bigger so we can follow it up. So, oh, sorry, I have refreshed the page there. It's my trackpad, I'm afraid. So what you can see is that all of these boxes are connected by arrows. Whenever you see a red arrow, it means that the connection is what I call active. It means that all the content of everything that is connected will be propagated. Put simply, what does that mean? I can ask here in a prompt shape, I can say, okay, what articles were we discussing? And I can send this. And what you can see then is that automatically we will select all 3 relevant articles. We will send this through in a chat layered system to your chosen LLM, and you can start asking specific questions about this. Now you can keep chaining. That's the fun thing with a graph. You can just keep chaining onto this. But that's the basic functionality of it. I have a couple of LLMs that are available here. So we have the Anthropic, Google, the Gemini, and then OpenAI. These are just the ones that I was using in my day-to-day. So that's why I want to be able to have the difference between all of those as well. Now, when I did this, I thought, well, this is actually an interesting way of interacting with it. And I want to solve some problems that I had when interacting with other types of models. So one of the things that I find very strong, but counterintuitive to use is models that allow you to pre-fill part of the answer. So I think most of you have done this in the course or in your own life as well. But in order to steer the model to the right sort of to the sort of answer that you want them to give, it's always good to already pre-fill sort of their answer. So what you can do here is you can edit the answer. So you can say, okay, well, this is the answer that it has already given, but you can add more to it, or you can just start it all over. You think, maybe this isn't the answer that I wanted it to give. So we can say, here are the articles we've been discussing. We have discussed here are the article titles. Let's do it like that. Titles we have discussed. Afterwards, after the list, I will give some other relevant examples, for instance, and then I just click continue from here. And so, yeah, and then it just basically sends that through, and you can see that obviously its answer is completely different because it's already pre-filled. So this is maybe not the best example to show this in, but it's something that I really needed. So any model that supports pre-fill will allow you to do that here. If you got an interesting result, you have also, and this is something else that I was missing in a lot of my chat interactions, like when I'm using Claude Sonnet or something like that, they might, within my entire discussion with them, suddenly there's like one thing that really stands out and one answer that I want to keep or that I want to edit a little bit, but it's difficult for me to find, or I have to put it in my notebook and then do it there. Here I can just export a note. In the notes, what we'll do, it will create a markdown note, which you can just edit, copy, do with what you like. So yeah, go ahead.
Like, are there only specific models which has this pre-filled editing capability, or is it like how you define the functionality and any model can be used?
So not all models support pre-fill, but all models from Anthropic do. Gemini, I don't think supports pre-fill unless they do now, but they didn't last time I tried, and OpenAI didn't support pre-fill previously. It's mainly Anthropic who have really solid support for pre-fill, I haven't tried it recently with Gemini and OpenAI models. Llama supports prefill. Gwen supports prefill, I think, but I haven't experimented a lot with it. But mainly, I know for sure that all Anthropic models support it quite well.
Interesting. Also, Mugdha has her hand raised up. We can have one more question. Mugdha, please go on.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Breyten. Just one question. I see the information is flowing between these boxes, but is there a possibility of filtering what information is going into the final box?
Yes. So so there's multiple ways in which to do this. First of all, you could delete an arrow, for instance, and then it doesn't go anymore. That's most straightforward, but that's not necessarily what we want to do. What you can do is, let's say I have a different shape here. I just do a little markdown text, and I say this is only relevant for one link. So what you can do is, so the way that the arrows are made, you have three options. You can make them, if you make the arrow black, it does not propagate. So it will not take the information into account. If you make it dotted, this means that it will only go one level further. So that means this information that we have in this box will only go as far as here. Any other elements further down the line will not have access to this information. Anything that you put in front of this, so if I say, let me just put a quick Wikipedia article here and add an arrow in here. So, sorry, it was strong. So for instance, this article will propagate to this markdown, but it will not propagate to this prompt because here we have a weak arrow connection. I'm not yet sure that this is the best way of doing it. And this is still very experimental, but this is something that has worked for me up until now. There's also, and this is something that we can go in a little bit more in depth, maybe somewhat later in the call if anyone's interested. But there's a whole algorithm behind how I collect context. Because as you can see, you can have multiple strands of context, right? So for instance, all this information will never go up this strand. So you can mix your different networks. But then I need to think, okay, I don't want to send the information to the model in a way that has like, first you have this article, then you have this article, then you have this article, for instance, right? So I want it to be in a structured way where basically your strands of your network are maintained, but all information is still being sent. And the most relevant information to your next question is the most recent in your chat completions list. I don't know if that answers the question.
Today, what I was thinking of was slightly different. That say, of all these three boxes, I might have something like, a filter of consider only any information related to, say, botany in these articles.
Yeah,
Ignore all other information.
So this is something that I have not yet put in here. It's part of my personal roadmap. Is something that will functionally do the same, but will probably be a little bit different implemented. So I do want to implement better forms of RAG in this, and this will actually be a different shape. So there will be, at some point, there will be a shape to which you can point, and that shape will be able to work as a type of filter, and that type of filter would it will probably be a RAG type of filter, so that indeed you can just say that. For now, if you do want to use it like that, depending on how large your context is, you need to do it within the prompt itself. Once we get to much larger context, then it's optimal that we do that processing of that context before we send it through and not have it done by the model. But for the type of use cases that I have had up until now, the strands tend not to be long enough. That's why I haven't prioritized it. Also because I've worked a lot on different ways of doing RAG in the past. I have some ideas that I want to put into this system, but it's going to be sufficiently complex that I haven't started developing on it yet. But it is on the roadmap.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions so far? All right. Then, so I figured, okay, now I have something in which I can already do some things that to me are interesting, because I want to have, I want to be able to do my research. I want to be able to take notes on specific articles. I want to be able to go on a sidetrack and all of those sort of things. And I want to be able to talk to an LLM, share thoughts, and come to some sort of conclusions. Now, it's good that I have Wikipedia for that, but not all the information that is in my research will be in Wikipedia. So what I've done then is we have also, let me just grab a quick URL. Let's take this one. Oh, this one rather. So next thing I built in was, and this, it depends on what you're interested in. If you're interested in what's out front end or how it's implemented, I can talk a lot about how it's implemented, because this was actually quite a complex thing to do. But you can add a PDF document directly within the page. So if now you just give in the URL and you create a PDF, and what it will do is it will try to get the PDF directly from the location, from the URL which you sent. Why is that a little bit complex? It's because a lot of places have cross origins restriction policies. So what I try to do, the first thing I try to do is, you give in the URL, I pick up the PDF that you have there, and if it allows me to load it directly in the canvas, I load it directly in the canvas, and then you can see it and you can interact with it here. And I do a little bit of clever loading just so that it doesn't take too much time. But if we cannot get it directly from the URL, and when we get more into the architecture, if anyone's interested in that, I can show a bit more. If I can't get it directly from the URL, I set up a proxy server, which will try to load it through a proxy to avoid cross-origin restriction issues. If my proxy server can't get it in that way and cannot stream the information back, there's a fallback on the proxy server, which will actually download that to download the document to the server and then host it from the server. Why so complex? It's because I didn't want to work out enough room and space on my server to host other people's PDFs. I didn't want to have any control on that, so we always use only the PDFs that's from their original location. No, so obviously the next question you're going to have, okay, if I have PDFs, can I interact with PDFs? Yes. So what I do is, while I'm loading this PDF, when I know that questions will be asked about it, I do conversion of it as well. So I convert the text of the PDF to Markdown. So if I now, for instance, here, I want to add a little prompt here. Let me just connect it. Oops, let's add a little arrow. So let's say, oh, this looks like this looks like a cool article. Can you make me an artifact which shows a simulation of what they are doing? So we have this clothes on it. So I will just send it through. And what you can see now is that it has created a markdown version of the entire PDF, and it sent all of that as context to your LM, and it will start writing well, your code in this case. And there, it's not. I see that it's broken up a little bit, so we'll see. Yeah, what I found, I don't know if anyone else is having this, is that Claude Sonnet 4 has become very verbose. But they used to give you very small snippets, but now they just keep writing and writing and writing. But we'll see what it gives us. Okay, it's not. It just yeah, it didn't. Let me just ask it again. See, it's not giving. It's not encoding it properly. I don't know why. Anyway, we'll have a look at that. So yeah, for me, the main functionality is that you should be able to interact with PDFs, especially when you might be interested in, for instance, here it is an interesting article for me. Let me just add that in here. So that's aperiodic monotile. Quickly add that in here. So you have an article that you want to explore, but maybe you're just really interested in a specific chapter. So this could be your entire book. Actually, I have a better example for that. Let me go to, I went on a trip recently, and I started using this for that as well. Let's just see if it works with the screen sharing. There we go. So here you can see how your graph can run amok if you start working in it quite a bit. But I went to Italy recently, and I had a couple of guidebooks of Italy. The problem was the guidebook I had was it's 300 pages, and there was only one chapter about the subject that I was interested in. So I just put in an extract pages option, so you can always go and look only at the pages that you're interested in. And it always uses the same source, so you don't have double loading. So it's interesting if you then, for instance, you're in a specific city, you only have the pages that are relevant for that city, and you can interact with it by asking it only the things that are relevant for those spaces. So imagine you're looking at the Transformers paper, and you say, "Oh, well, now I'm really interested in learning more about, let's say, bit pair encoding." So you just take the part of the article that talks about bit pair encoding, and you do that. Why do I do it like this and not through and those things? It's not just through filter. It's because so one of the things that I want to battle with this project is the notion of context rods. I don't want to give too much information to the system. I want to give it only the relevant information, but I want to give it in a way that it's easy for me to still see what context I am giving to a system. So that's why we have the PDFs working like this. All right. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that so far.
No, I think we're good to proceed.
Okay, great. I will just go back here. Actually, make his response a bit better because it forgot to put his proper check marks. Okay, so now it's does better. Well, yeah, actually, it didn't even finish its full conversation. Okay, make me a short and efficient. And this again. Okay. Yeah, it's better. And now it's actually giving it correctly. So yeah, so as I'm saying, you can ask for it to create some artifacts. And because that was another thing that I wanted to play around with, is whenever I use Claude, I use artifacts quite often. But what I find is that they give me an artifact which is a fun dashboard or something to play with, but it's not ideal. It's not working perfectly, or there's like one or two things that I want to change. But then either I have to put it on my desktop, save it, run it. I can't just go ahead and edit it. So what I put in here is that whenever it creates an artifact, so any sort of HTML element, Claude gives in the end HTML pages as artifacts. So I also visualize the artifact so you can, and you can immediately interact with it within the within your canvas. If you want to change something about it, if you want to change one thing, you just change the response that they gave you and run the artifact again. And you can basically do live coding with your artifact instead of having to do it separately again somewhere else. That's just, it's a little bit of a nice to have, I thought. Okay, so those are already, that's a start of what I want to work on. But in my daily workflow, there are other things that I need to do as well, and a lot of those have to do with coding itself in the Solve It way. So what I wanted to see is, can I get a code editor in here as well? So if we do a prompt, let's just say, can you give me a short and simple A* algorithm in Python? So let's just ask it to write some code for us, because we're all too lazy to write our own code these days. So it's always helpful. Although if we follow Solve It properly, we do write our own code. So you can see here it has written code, and you have an evaluation button. And so any Python code you can look at in a code editor. But just looking at the code isn't fun. So we can also just run the code. And what happens here is that all of the code that you have put in here, I send it to a separate server. There I have a Docker configured, which comes with containers which have Python pre-installed. It just sends all of your information to it. It will execute your code. It will return your output, and so you can actually interact with this, which is quite nice. And that way you can iterate and you can start writing larger elements of code. For those of you who have followed Solve It, basically this flow should be quite similar, because you just make a note. Should I really do it like this? You chat with your prompt, and then you iterate and you integrate your results as well. Now, it's still a little bit boring at this point, because the only thing that you can do with this is, you can execute one code block, but you don't have any control over your variables. You don't really have history. You can't have information from one code block appear in another code block. So if, for instance, now I make a new code block and say A equals hello everyone in this session, and I do a print A, I run it. Okay, it works here. But if then I do another cell and I say, print A, Now it's going to give me an error because it's just saying, well, the variable a has not been defined, so I don't know what you're talking about. So what I put in there then is that here at the top, you can activate a persistent session. What does a persistent session mean? It means that for this canvas in which you are, all the codes that you're going to execute are going to be executed in the same Python environment. So if now I run it again, so I have set the variable, now I run it here. Now this code block can actually touch the variable that was set here. And on the top, you will see that you have all variables will be listed here. You can search on type of variable. What else can you do? If you can, so here you can see, okay, we have variable a was defined somewhere in here, but it's possible, for instance, you have written 5,000 code blocks and you don't know anymore where you defined it. If you just click on it, you will go to the place that has defined that variable. It's just a simple, quick, nice to have, but it's a good way of traversing the canvas, trying to iterate on sort of things you're working with. Why do I like this, and what's different to it for me from using traditional Solvit is, again, I can go on tangents, right? So, for instance, if I have an entire flow of code blocks which are linked with each other, and suddenly I have an idea, maybe I can implement this algorithm in a different way, I can just easily branch off and try my different solution to it. So that's always a nice way of exploring, and then being able to explore without having forgotten what you were actually doing in the beginning, because you still keep your UI interface, which as visual interface, which I find much easier to grasp for me personally. Your mileage might vary, but that's why I put that in there in that way. What did I want to talk about here? Yeah, another thing is, this is a bit of an aside. I am very allergic to systems which don't give you control over your own data and your own information. So I put quite a few export options in here because I want you to be able to have all of your information in whatever form you want without having to use the canvas. So once you have done, for instance, your research, once you have written your code, whatever you have done, you can export it. We have a couple of things, ways of exporting it. You can export everything to separate markdown files. So for each type of component, we define how it's done, and then you just have that all in markdown. You can export it all to your notebook. You can just get a single Python file with all of the code. You can get an individual file for each component, doesn't matter much. You can export it directly to GitHub gist and then share the gist with people. I use Obsidian. So what you can do is you can export it to an Obsidian Vault. Obsidian, again, it allows you to keep all of your texts easily in Markdown files, so it's a good fit for it. So you can either download it as a zip file. I use GitHub to sync all of my Obsidian files, so you can also just export it directly to your GitHub repository if you have authenticated with that. So I think that's the main things that are currently implemented in the front end. I think for some of you that might have been a lot of repetition from Wednesday, but I just want to go through that again. And then we can go to questions people might have about how all of this functions, or if you want to see more of the code, if you want to play with it a little bit more. Before that, one thing that may be interesting is because we are using things like tldraw, what's nice is that it comes with sync, automatic sync. So anyone else who would currently be in this page would be able to interact with it live as well. You also have personal private pages where other people aren't able to interact, but that's just one way of being able to really work on a project together, code together, research together. It all comes with sync automatically enabled.
Brayden, I have one question.
Yeah.
Have you seen this tldraw becoming sluggish? Let's say you have too many prompt blocks or code blocks that are sharing persistent state running continuously. So have you experienced this becoming sluggish?
So I haven't yet. I will, but I'm trying to think of solutions for the type of problems that we might have. So, so the main things that where it can become sluggish. So the thing, tldraw is very good at filtering out and only showing what is relevant within the viewport that you are currently in. So it's not keeping all of that information in background. It's loading it dynamically and it's loading it quite well. That's also why, for instance, for the PDF files, you'll see I don't load in the full PDF file. I just load in the relevant pages, 3 pages before, 3 pages after, and that's it. But where it could become a problem is if your sync file for a specific room becomes too large. Now, how can it become large? At the moment, there's a couple of things where there's a lot where there can be a lot of information in the sync, and that's anything that is text that you have written yourself. Any markdown text that can be quite big. Now, the PDF, for instance, the PDF in the sync is only a single URL. So in the sync, we only save the URL, and then the canvas will render it automatically and properly at the moment that you're actually looking at it. So if we go back to, for instance, the other one that I was showing, so you'll see here I have all these PDF files and variations of those files. I have all of these Wikipedia elements. I have a lot of random extra text and prompts and elements like that. And for me, it still seems to be working. It's working fast enough for me that I don't notice any problems with it. I do think that that's something that we will encounter at some point, but I haven't had to deal with too much yet. Where I will, what I would do if we're getting projects which become too large, that's the moment that I'm probably going to switch to having a file storage element as well, which means that all of the text all of text that's in any prompt, all of the text that is in any markdown file will be saved as text on the file server. And then in the sync, we only have the link to the component content. That way we know that the sync will still work fast enough. But really, at the moment, it's not a problem. I'm also everything I'm also running completely on my own server. So in the beginning, I was thinking about working with Cloudflare workers, but it was too expensive. So I just have a WebSocket server that I run myself. For the amount of traffic that I have at the moment for myself, it's really not a problem. It's an optimization for later if that ever becomes an issue.
Okay.
So can we go now into backend, like how we are developing this, what kind of like components does tldraw provides, or the tech stack that tldraw provides, and then like how are you
Yep.
building them and
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, go ahead.
and other components or other things that you're integrating, like what does the tech stack looks like? And
Yep. Okay. No, that's perfect. I'll go into that. Well, actually, it's might be good to use the tldraw itself for this. Let's just quickly create a new file because then you can see what's in the tldraw, what's not. Example. So here, this is vanilla tldraw. It's maybe a version or two ahead of mine. So you can see that they have a lot of standard components. So you have crayon, you can just write a little bit with it. You have text components. You have sticky notes. So all of these components are also available in mine, except for the upload for the image, which I don't allow. You have boxes. That's basically, the functionality of tldraw itself. And all of the components that you saw that we were playing with just now, those are all custom components that I've made. One of the components that is in tldraw is you have really good arrows. I love their arrows. They're very, very cleverly made, but they don't have propagation functionality. So what I'm working on, I call it marginalia. In that one, I have a extended version of the tldraw arrow class. Now, how technically does it work? So basically, let's just quickly. So we have tldraw canvas server. So this is just I just call this marginalia. So that's basically our front end, right? So let's just do front end is tldraw canvas, and in that we have all of our custom components. And these are so it's the file shape, prompt shape, markdown shape, artifacts, Wikipedia. And am I missing one? Probably, but I'll see which ones are. So that's well, yeah. Can make smaller. So that's what I'm doing in the canvas, and I'll move over to the code of that in just a second. What is under code shape, of course. Code shape. What works underneath? What makes this work is, so for sync, we have right now I have a different separate project. So we have marginalia sync, and that's basically just a simple web socket server. Let's group these. No, they're not groups. Oops. Doesn't matter. So that's the sync server. Then we have just copy paste. Messing about with it. There we go. Then we have marginalia off. That's not very important, but that's not notification server. That's just the GitHub integration. So that will this is a separate server which will identify you as a user of GitHub, so that your gists and everything gets to the correct area. Then we have next to that we have marginalia fetch, which is a document proxy server. So this one is what we use to load the PDFs. And then we have the one that's the most complicated of these, which is, and most interesting, I think, which is marginalia execution. And that's the code execution server. How does marginalia execution work? Basically, so this is how we do our code execution. So it's Docker containers with Python pre-installed, accessible over API. So what does that mean? It's basically a simple, it's a relatively simple server in the sense that you just have an API. What you do is, if you are a user who is allowed to execute code on that server, you send an API call, you send your codes through in the right form, you send your token, and you ask, okay, I want to execute this code, and I just want to have it executed once. Which, sorry, I'm clicking all sorts of wrong things. Execute ephemeral. So the ephemeral version is very simple. It will load the Docker container. Let me just these things. Ephemeral up. So load Docker container. Execute code. Text return results. Can't forget about that. Oops. And then destroy the Docker container. Yeah. Sorry, I'm destroy Docker container. So this is obviously like, it's very simple. It's simply explained. It wasn't that simple to set up, but once it's set up, it's quite straightforward. But the more interesting one, of course, is our persistent container, which works in a similar way, but much more complicated. So persistent container. So basically what this will do is it will not destroy. So basically there, what we do is we execute the code. We still return the result. But at the same time, we return, in addition to the results, we also return all altered variables. Why do we return all altered variables? It's because obviously you need to be able to have your search functionality that I showed you before. You need to be able to go to the code block that has changed it. And because of that, we need to know which code execution block has changed which variable. And what do I do at the same time? And this is something that solves a lot of issues that I had with Jupyter Notebook and Solvit, is I will dill the session. I don't know if anyone's that familiar with dill. Some of you might have used pickle already. So pickle and dill are just Python libraries, which Python libraries for saving session as static file. So they save your entire Python session in a static file. Why is this useful? It just means that imagine if my container isn't working anymore, because obviously here there is, so we don't destroy the container, but there's a time to live for the container, which is 30 minutes. I think it's about 30 minutes at the moment, after a change. Why? Because I don't want to have containers running indefinitely on my server. But what I do want is that if a month later I come back and I open a session, and it was supposed to be a persistent session, what I will do is when I load the Docker container, I'll actually go like this, what I do is I check, is there a previous session? And if there is a previous session, I load the DIL file. What does that mean? Well, obviously, it's just that all of your variables, all of the actions that you have undertaken in your previous session will automatically be loaded. And then I do have a time to live for the DIL files. I think it's 60 days or 90 days at the moment. It's not something that I've run into yet. We'll see what I do with that later. But for me, this is solving a really real problem for me personally, because you know how sometimes you're doing all of this coding and then you come back to it and you sort of remember where you were, but you don't remember it exactly. But then if you have to rerun all the cells, and if there's a lot of calculation in it, just to get to where you were, you already need to wait half an hour for the entire thing to have executed all of the code again, just to have your variables. With DIL, that is automatically resolved, and that was one of the things that I wanted to resolve with this application. So that's the high-level architecture. You want to go a little bit deeper in any specifics of this? Maybe more into the components or more into, well, anything really.
Can you show one component? Like how you made
Of
like
course.
a small simple component?
Of course. So let me just get the source code. So this is Marinalia. So here we have components. Let's take the PDF shape. You'll have to I'll have to apologize because I'm definitely certain that it's not the best written code in there at the moment. Well, it's maybe not. Well, maybe markdown shape will be a simpler component, I think, to start with. So basically, the way that you do it is just you start by defining. Let me just get the props. So any component in tldraw, you just you start by defining basically what will be in there. So markdown shape is quite simple. I have a width, I have a height, I have content. The content is a string. I have a language. Language is not it's not language as in English or French or whatever. It's language as in, is there a code language for this shape? Why do I do this? Is because I use the same shape for the code editor as for the markdown shape. So that's why we have there. We have the theme. I'm going to throw that out. And then we have show preview. What does show preview mean? Let me just go back here. So we have a markdown shape. I want to be able to both edit it, both be in edit mode and be in a preview mode, header. So that variable just tracks whether this particular component is currently in the preview mode or in the edit mode. I'll go back to it. We're right here. So then the type, type is just a little bit further of a definition. It's just a sample type. And then really how you make it is you just start, you just give all sorts of relevant elements to it. So the markdown shape tool, what we'll do, this is the shape tool. The shape tool, what does that mean? Again, all of this is much better documented within the tldraw.dev documentation than I can say it here. So, and it's really good documentation. So if you go to tldraw.dev and to their documents, you will find probably simpler explanations of what I'm doing as well. So you have good information about the tools and components. I'll just give you the quick overview. So the tool, basically, what does that do when we say that we want to create a markdown element, either by clicking on the toolbar or by using the shortcut? It will create a markdown shape of a certain width and certain height, and it will then automatically create that and use your standard information. And then the content of the shape itself, that's your markdown shape. So basically it's just a load of, sorry, this is my CSS. And then I am using the util. So here, basically in the util, you define everything that you want your shape to actually be and all the actions that it can undertake. So all the functions that there are for your shape. So here, what do we have? Yeah, it's just, again, I'm using a lot of tldraw fundamentals. It's a 2D shape. It starts off as a rectangle with certain height. We use fill. And then we load it with an editor. The editor, for the editor, I haven't written this whole editor myself. I just use an existing actually the same one that is being used in Solvit as editor. It's very good. And then basically there's just a lot of React, which is at the moment quite ugly and raw. I need to update a lot of this, but basically it's just solving all of the little issues. Like, for instance, one of the complex elements with shapes in tldraw is that you can either have them in edit mode or you can have them in display mode. Problem is, if you do switch between editing mode and display mode, you need to have 2 clicks in order to activate it and actually change something. So I override all of that. I keep them forced as an editor mode, and I just deal with the fallout from that. Other things that are difficult on the canvas when you have an item in there, you saw that I was able to scroll in all of those shapes, and that's always the right scroll window is scrolling. That's something that you completely override here in your editor content. So that's just my real events that we are doing there. I debug, yeah, here. What happens sometimes when you are working on it together and someone is editing in the shape or is typing somewhere, if I don't debounce it, it can look weird if someone else is in there. That's basically it. Then we just use some React handlers to toggle to preview. That's again that button that you saw before, and it just updates the visuality of it. So all of this is pretty standard React code. None of this is. Nothing specific is incredibly complicated. It's just finding a way to do it in the way that you want can take a lot of fiddliness. But other than that, it's because it's so compartmentalized, because each everything really takes care of what it needs to take care for. It works quite well. And then basically here, this would be similar for people who are using fast HTML. You just return the container that you have created and pop it on the canvas, and that's it. So it's really, it might look more complicated from my very haphazard explanation, but if you look at the tldraw SDK, they're really good. I know that they have a Discord channel as well, where a lot of people who work on tldraw are very helpful. I'm not very active on that because I'm not very active on social media in general, but I know that the people who are working on tldraw, they really take seriously. So if you are starting to explore things with that, I know that they're very open to questions and helping. And one of the things that they do really is they show by example. So if you do go to the tldraw documents, you'll quickly see normally, let's see, if you go to the examples, they have not thousands, but hundreds of really good examples on basically how this should be created with maybe somewhat simpler elements than the ones I'm showing. But if you want to get in deep in there, that's the best place to start. I'm also always happy if anyone is wanting to start with this and you want to go through something specific, we can always do one-on-one for that. And I can give a bit more explanation how I do it. But of course, my way of doing is not necessarily the right way of doing so. But it's available.
The Monaco editor, or can you specify which editor have you integrated?
The editor that I'm using is I really should know it by heart, but I have forgotten the name. It's a very simple name. What is it again? Where did I put? Sorry, I have to. Editor there, obviously. Code Mirror 6. That's it.
Okay.
So this one, it's really good. People who use Solvit will recognize it immediately. It's the same one. I haven't put in any ghost text or anything like that, but it does have autofill already. It's free to use. It has a really good plugin system. I'll put it in the chat as well for people who are interested in that. It's really good.
Interesting. And like some of them are like pre-built components that you have used, or you have done everything from scratch?
So all of the components that we have seen today, they're all custom components. Because otherwise I wouldn't be making it. But for instance, the node here, the post-it note, that's a pre-built component. Writing this, the pen, that's a pre-built component. But I think that's the Wikipedia, the Markdown, the prompts, the file, the code and PDF, that's all completely custom built. That was not something that was available. Sorry?
You want the AI generated part? The chat, like AI chat part?
That's they don't have that in they don't have that. That's completely custom built.
Okay, interesting.
But it's the thing is it's not very complicated. Also, that's something that I would want to have always custom, because I want to have complete control over the way that we use that. So basically you just have the prompt shape, which again uses the editor. And then what I do is I have a lot of services that I use, which basically so we have a linked component service. This is an example of it. So like all of the controls, like how do you gather all relevant information that you want to send, that you want to propagate, all of that, they are all custom built services, specifically for my implementation.
Nice.
Again, there's a lot that can be streamlined on this. I'm still you'll see that I'm still constantly changing things and adding new functionalities, but it works for what I need it to work for.
It's very interesting project. When do you think like it will be accessible for at least trial for like users?
So it's a good question. So it's not necessarily my idea to make it available for end users. I don't have the background or the money to support that for other people. That being said, I do want people to use it in a pilot. So that's why I sent through the login and credentials as well. So you're absolutely free to use it already. The only limitations are obviously I put a limit on the amount of prompts that can be used, but you won't get there very quickly. And it's possible that I will make breaking changes, because it's a project that is in development and I'm constantly adding new things in there. But anyone from Solvit or FastHTML can use it. And actually, that's also one of the reasons why I want to show it to people. Because I've been working a lot in the background and I know a lot of uses that I have for it. but I want to see once we start interacting on it with more people, once we start syncing it with people and things like that. I think it'd be very interesting to see what breaks, and the more that breaks now, the more I can learn on how to fix it. But yeah, so that's really my goal. For the rest, I just want to. I really it was something I really want to share with the people at Solvit, seeing if anyone finds anything interesting in it, seeing if it's something to worth working further on or not. But I'm not making it as an end product for anyone at the moment. That's not my goal. I'll probably, if I don't find enough interest, I'll just open source it and then people can run it how they want. So
And like, can people contribute now to this project? Whoever is interested, are you like open for collaborations? Develop.
absolutely, yeah. I'm interested in everything.
So how can like they approach you? Like, do you want to share your email ID or like?
Oh yeah. Everyone can they can either DM me directly on the Discord, or I have my email is breyten@andersol.com. I'll just put it in chat. And I'm not active on Twitter, but on Blue Sky, it's just at breyten.andersol.com. So you can always contact me there as well, or by email or on Discord. Anyway you want.
All right. It was amazing project, and like I can't wait like to try it out and figure out like what all new possibilities can it
Oh
unlock.
yeah. Please do. You're gonna encounter problems probably immediately, but let me know because I haven't tested it on a lot of browsers. I haven't tested it on a lot of different systems than my own. Mobile does not. I don't use it on mobile. It's not. It's very much not optimized for that. It's not the goal that it works on there. But yeah, please feel free to use it. And if you see something, say something. Let me know, and I'm happy to do a session whenever anyone runs into a problem. Or yeah, I want to learn from other people's experiences with this.
Sunil sir, Gautam, do you have any questions?
No, nothing from my side.
Okay. So thank
No, Aditya.
okay, all right. Thank you, Breyten, for your time and
Oh no, thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. I'm always happy to to talk for way too long about things, but I hope it was useful for people. And yeah, if there's any questions later on, never hesitate to contact me. And thanks for running all of this. It's a really good initiative.
well, and yeah, like I can't wait to try it out and like figure out like what can be done. Because like,
Awesome.
it's like a new way of playing with AI, which
Well, yeah, that's really why I'm doing it. Like one of the things. So one of the main points, and this is the last thing, and then I'm really going to close up. But one of the uh, things that I've always encountered is that we interact with an internet that is not necessarily made for human interaction. Like we had our first version of the internet that was completely limited by technical constraints. Then we have the now our version of the internet where everything had to be optimized for use by both the robots and humans, and that's why we have all of those typical SEO things and things like that. But now we have both technology and the alternatives that humans don't need to interact with things anymore in the same way that robots can. So by combining things like LLM.text and agents that can work in the background, but then by liberating people to actually interact with it in a way that works in the same way that we think, instead of having thousands of tabs open or having to look through chats or having just having what we want to interact with at our fingertips in one visual thing, being able to go on the site quest and then go back to your main thing. That's really what I think gives this a lot of possibility. Now, if you don't organize it, you're going to get lost anyway, but that's a completely different question.
yeah, one of the other like use case or project that I was thinking of is suppose like we have a text file or a code file, right? Or like even Claude artifacts. If we play like if you have played artifacts within the Claude chatbot, and if you like comment on something, Claude goes and make changes in the artifact.
Mhm.
So the component is like on like some level, and then you're interacting with AI, and AI is going acting as an agent on your behalf and going and making changes in that document, code, or anything.
Mhm.
So I was wondering like how do we like unlock this capability in our like in other places?
Mhm.
And I think this whiteboard offers a good way to do that, even though like one can do it on the computer using Claude Code or Gemini CLI.
Sure. And for certain projects, definitely that's what you're going to do. But then for me, it's conceptualizing about those projects is great in a whiteboard, and then implementing them will still be within. Thi- this is not an IDE. This is not going to replace any of that. But thinking about how you're going to strategize about your project and doing those things, that's perfect in whiteboard. And then you can make a summary and go to your IDE and start coding in something that is made for that. So yeah, it's a whole thing about using the right tool for the right job. And I do think that there's a good place for like thing is I made it for myself because I needed it. That's it's how I think. So I want to visualize that. So yeah.
Mhm. I am visualizing it more than that. Like it can even be like an ID, like where like because the beauty of Solvit is like you are having conversations, right, in a very structured
Mhm.
manner. And that ability goes when we get into Claude Code in like interact
Yes.
with terminal and within even cursor when you have site chatbot, right?
Yes. Yes.
So like that ability goes away.
Mhm.
And like having this whiteboard like functionality where like we are dynamically able to feed in information and interact and have this
Mhm.
artifact in which changes are taking place.
Yep. That's true. That's one of the ways. There's still a little bit of work to make that work more seamlessly, but that's where I want to go as well.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you for doing this and thank you for patiently like
I
taking
don't know.
time.
Thank you, and it was very nice. And thank you for spending your late evening on this. And I'm sure we'll talk more about this in the future.
Yeah. All right. See you then. I will share the recording and
Okay.
convert it into blog by taking Ren's help. There will be a
Okay. Great.
draft prepared, which you will have to edit, but like it's a good first draft. We made it for Paul, and it feels really good.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's what was one of the other reasons why I wanted to talk about this, because whenever I want to make a blog as well about how I made certain elements of this, but it's much better to first talk about it, have that question answer system, have your first version of it, and then be able to work from that. It makes life so much easier. AI is good, eh? It helps us.
Yeah. Do share me like any additional files you have. Maybe like a public GitHub repo if you have, or any documentation or screenshots additionally to this session, which can be used as reference information.
Public yet, but yes, yeah. But I haven't made it public yet. But yes, it will happen at some point. But yeah, I'll send through what else I have. I'll send through the diagram that I made as well. That might be good for some of the background things and things like that. So I'll send that on.
So for blog, then as much information we have, the more better outcome the more better first draft it gives.
Okay, that's perfect.
Okay. Thank you.